Boom, boom, swish. Ding, 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 ding. Intro, intro, intro. I'm live. It's been a long while since I streamed. I mean, I did the Bob Ross simulator thing, but... well, it's basically been a year. I mean, bleep happened. I mean, shirt happened. Okay, so you might be wondering why I'm doing an Oxygen Not Included stream. To put it simply, a friend started playing, I want to help them learn. But not too much, because I realize that some of the fun of the game is figuring out how to do things on your own. You can already see that I've made a rather successful base. I've gone so far as to launch rockets from there, so I was very happy about that. It was the first time, but I think I can make something good here. This stream's going to be a bit different than a lot of them. I'm not going to post directly to YouTube afterwards. I have 3 rules. No, wait. 4 rules that I want to follow. My first rule is that I'm not posting directly to YouTube. Once the stream is done, instead of posting the raw file, I actually have to edit it with things like intro cards and like edit out gaps where nothing happens. In other words, I have to do this like a real fudging professional. Which brings me to rule number 2. I have to be very careful about swearing. It's not like a requirement for me or anything, but I want to be very careful and swear as little as possible. Oh. And then rule 3 is that any time I say that I've never done something before, that automatically means that I have to do it somewhere in the base. So, just as an example, I have never made a hydroponic fiber farm before. Now I have to do that at some point. That's fine. Okay. And what was the 4th rule? I know I had 4. Let me just... ooh, come on. Ah, right. My 4th rule is that I'm adhering to a strict 1 hour per streaming session, so I've already spent 3 minutes of that describing everything here. Let's get to this. So the first and probably most important choice you're going to make is who are your first 3 duplicants. You're never going to get 3 perfect duplicants, but you can hit the shuffle button quite a lot looking for good duplicants. Now, I think for my 3 first duplicants, the most important thing for me is going to be a diverse range of interests. There are some downsides that I just don't want in my duplicants, but as long as the downsides aren't too harsh, I'll go with it. Now, I don't like anemic, but I'm fine with it here. 2 of them are early birds. That's fine. Okay, ready? I have never put my duplicants into shifts in order to maximize efficiency. I've locked myself into doing it. I don't like that Hassan here is a slow learner. I feel like slow learner is too much. Gastrophobia is better, and this one's germ resistant. I like that. I've got a grease monkey with an irritable bowel. I'm okay with that. And Frankie here is anemic, but an early bird. So, I'll live with that. And for my next bit, I need to name the colony. Since I very much want to into space, there is very much only one thing I can name my colony. Now I can into space. I've been waiting to use that joke for ages. Oh. So cathartic. Alright. Alert. I've awoken with a starting crew of 3 duplicants, but the situation here is not as we expected. Resources are scarce and our pod is embedded miles beneath the planet's surface. I must help my duplicants survive before I investigate what went wrong. Okay, I'm gonna pause right after the bat. So right now, all I have is no critter eggs. For some reason it has critter eggs though, and 16,000 calories of nutrient bars. At 1,000 calories per day, that means I have 5 days before I run out. But I want to get started instantly, so I'm going to take a look around. I'm paused. First thing I want to do is get my bearings. So I'm looking around using the ASWD keys, and as you already know, you can zoom in using the mouse wheel. I've got some water down here, water over here. I do have to be careful. I've got nice, huge copper deposits. Azaria, if you're watching this, copper! This is what your copper deposits should look like in a good starting position. So you can kind of see just how badly you got screwed over here. It's really nasty. You have, like, almost no copper in your game. It's terrible. But look at that. That is good copper. Oh, should I say it? Okay. Next thing I'm going to say. I have never correctly used transformers. So I've just locked myself into using that. And I'm saying this right now for a reason. A lot of Oxygen Not Included is about planning. Some of it is about doing things on the fly, but a lot of it is about planning. And one of the things I've been doing in my previous bases is making platforms about 24 blocks wide, and I find that that's great for most of my rooms, but I'm going to increase it here to 26, specifically so that transformers fit in just the right places. Now, it's a bit of a balancing act, because you start with a limited amount of space that you can expand into until you have a good miner. And you're not going to get a good miner until you have a bit of research into jobs, and you're not going to have research into jobs until a whole bunch of other stuff, but for now, I have a limited amount of space, so every time I expand it, it gives me a bit more leeway, a bit more working room, but every time I shrink it, it also gives me leeway in another way. So, what do I mean by a platform of 24 blocks large? Well, I'm going to hit the G key here. That brings up my shovel. And you'll note that this starting platform is always 8 blocks wide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, but I want to expand that. So, 9, 10. I'm going to go 12 in every direction. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14... Oh, God, I just started counting instead of actually... Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I want to go 12 in each direction. So just that far. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And that's going to take me over this water. That'll give me a good starting source. I'm not going to expand in this direction too quickly, though, because I want to go downwards, so I'm going to start by expanding in this direction. I don't have any building materials yet, but we'll get to those. Let's just start with basic controls. I've gone over this already, verbally. Colony management, that just tells you to use the G key. Oh, duplicate movement? Ah, yes, that's right. You can show navigation, and that shows a nice line for where they can go, and you can actually move them to places if you want. I rarely use it. From my point of view, it's just useful for keeping them out of certain areas when time is... when it's a bad time to be there. Okay, so we've got some sandstone. I can now make ladders, tiles, storage bins, outhouses, pitcher pumps, bottle emptiers, basins, med beds, massage tables, memorials, and cots. One of the things you're going to have to pay attention to in this is morale. Actually, you know what? This is a great time to go over it. Let's go over these tabs at the top, starting with consumables. This shows everything we have available to consume, and you can actually control what they're allowed to eat and what they're not allowed to eat by clicking the check marks. You see right now we have meal lice, nutrient bars, bristleberries, vitamin chews, and placebos. Next up we have vitals. This is everyone. We currently have Nicola, Frankie, and Ellie. They're all a bit stressed, but their stress is going down. That's because of their high morale. It's a new day, so they're all getting their stress down very fast. They've all got about 3,500 calories. They've eaten nothing today. Full health, perfect immune systems. And what you can see here is that the morale is listed as 2 out of 1. 1 is the amount of morale they need. And that will go up as they move from being unemployed to having more stressful jobs like miner or researcher. Here at reports, you can see how many calories you've generated, stress change, what the disease is like, how much time has gone by, how much time has been spent traveling, idling, and how much oxygen has been generated. You'll note we've already lost 8.2 kilograms. That's fine. We've got this nice deposit of oxalite here, and that will gradually dissolve and give us oxygen. So we've got a while before we need to make anything of our own. At first, algae is going to be our most useful resource for making oxygen, but it's not going to stay that way, because pretty fast, I've learned that pretty fast we want to move over to water, and water will be useful in making us some nice oxygen, more than the algae ever could, and at that point we can start using the algae to feed fish, as all algae should be used. And that's important because algae isn't really a renewable resource. So instead we're going to want to use it to feed fish. Fish give us eggs give us eggshells and food. And eggshells are what we need for lime. Lime gives us steel. It's a great big cycle in that direction. So that went pretty well. Let's make a ladder now. I have a sort of preset base layout in my head just a little bit that I've gotten through various sessions. Let me just see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's going to be where I make my first platform, and I'm just going to sort of put it like that. And I'm going to start by making layers, sort of floors on this base that are just 4 high. And I've heard that some people do it in other ways. There might be better ways to do this, but I just find 4 works for early base building, just for me. So I'm just going to put it like that. And you might notice I'm putting a gap between the ladder and the platform, and that's just because I like to have that little extra square there for later, and what I add in there later is a transit tube for fast travel. I'm building down, and what I'm planning to do, I'm planning just some, from the looks of it, to put showers on this level, and I'm probably going to put toilets and latrines down on this level. I'm actually going to cancel a whole bunch of this building right here right now. He's harvesting muckroot, by the way. You'll eat a lot of that in the early days. There's about 1,000 calories per... Oh no, sorry, 800 calories per muckroot. And just as you dig, that's going to be an extra source of nutrients. I'll dig out this floor later. I don't plan on using it immediately. But this next floor I'm going to use very quickly. Okay, so I'm going to take you over the overlays here, because this is going to get important. This is the oxygen overlay. Shows you where you can breathe and where you can't. Temperature overlay, everything's about 20 degrees right now, but if we look to the edge of the map, you can see that it's a bit warm over here. It's a bit warm everywhere. There's going to be edges that look cold in some places, I hope. Those will be your frost biomes. And you want to head towards your frost biomes just because those are where you get sleet wheat, and sleet wheat is a great source of food. I usually keep my sleet wheat wild instead of growing it in a farm. Maybe I shouldn't. Something you gotta remember is that for me, most of this game I'm self-taught. I have tried to avoid any sort of tutorials on YouTube. I've kept track of the wiki, but that's about it. And the result is that everything I've learned is pretty much something I taught myself. One of the most important concepts you're going to want to learn in early base building, though, is rooms. Here's your room overlay. Doesn't tell you much right now, but basically it has all these possible rooms you can make. You'll see that we have no outhouse built, but I'm going to want one of those pretty quickly, and I'm going to put it down on this floor right here. So first I want a room to build it in, like that. And there's going to be no electricity required in this, so I don't need to worry about where I'm going to put transformers. Like I said, I've locked myself into using transformers, but that's it. And I'm going to put a sink here. I'm going to start with a wash basin and an outhouse. And the wash basin is important because the outhouse is going to start producing germs and filth, and you want people to wash their hands before leaving the washroom. And let's see. That'll give me 4 in the center. I want, yeah, no, I'll do 4. I'm just sort of messing around, trying to figure out where I want various things to be, and I'm not quite certain yet, you know? It's all a bit, how do you say it? It's all a bit eyeballing it. It's not something precise. Okay, now here's something I've learned to do. You see, right here we have a pneumatic door, and that's important. You want a door because a door tells you where the barrier is to a room. But there's a little catch here. A door actually takes time to go through. So you see the door has settings: open, auto, and lock. I'm just going to leave the door open. The door will act as a boundary that people can go through, but it won't actually prevent people from going places. It won't slow them down is the point. And once this area becomes enclosed, you should see that it has this nice room aspect to it. Now this wash basin is actually going to need water, and for now we can just build down to this water here. And we can put in a pitcher pump, like that. And that'll be a nice source of water. Now, this pitcher pump can actually be walked on, so that actually acts as a bit of a floor. Specifically, you can't put a floor here anymore, but duplicants can walk across that, so that's helpful. Okay, so this looks enclosed now, so now you're going to see something interesting if you go to the room overlay. There's a bit of a grayness here, and this grayness sort of shows that this is now considered a room, but it's a miscellaneous room. It has no effect. If you look down the list here, though, one of the room types is latrine. To have a latrine, you have to have a toilet, a wash station, and no industrial machinery, and it has to be somewhere from 12 to 64 tiles. Now all my rooms are 4 tiles high, so that means it needs to be somewhere between 3 tiles wide, wider in our case, or to 64 tiles so 64 divided by 4, that's, let's see, I believe that's 16? Yeah, 16. So I could have a washroom 16 tiles long. And there's probably better ways to do this. I'd like to remind you, I fully encourage experimentation. This is not a wizarding spell. This is science. You try things, and sometimes they fail. It happens. So it's telling us to use the plumbing tab. It's this one, I think? Or, oh, no, it's telling us to use this. Yeah, I've already got that laid out. We've got a bottle emptier too, but I have nothing I want to empty the bottle into right now. Now, do I have dirt? If I look up, that should be under cultivatable soil. I have 2 tons of dirt. I have 2 tons of dirt. So as soon as that outhouse is made, they'll all have somewhere to relieve themselves. And I'm just going to switch to this overview, miscellaneous room. As soon as this is done, and it should be done soon, and I'm very glad to have it done by the end of the first day, Come on, come on. Finish it. Very excited for you to finish it. There we go. It just turned blue. And now this room has the latrine modifier. Like that. Toilet, wash station. So we have a working washroom. And just as a sort of rule of thumb, I sort of have it in my mind that a washroom will service about 4 people before they can't all use it anymore. So we're running out of oxygen here. I could make an oxygen diffuser, but I think I'm going to hold off on that. The oxalate will do for now. We're approaching nightfall, so you'll note they all headed towards a food source. Frankie went and used the outhouse. We've got 14 visits remaining, and it's giving us a lecture on germs. If you go to the germs section, you'll notice that this one is now covered with food poisoning germs. And they can go disinfect that at various points, but otherwise it's just going to get worse until one of them gets poisoned. You'll also notice over here that we've got slime lung. Those are your 2 main diseases, food poisoning and slime lung. Slime lung, I'd say, is a much worse illness. Oh, hello, Mistal Animations. Happy New Year's Eve. I'll definitely be going to celebrate it soon. You'll notice a lot of slime over here, and I just sort of call that the slime biome. I think it has a different name on the wiki, but it just has so much slime, and slime is the important element. And as you mine the slime, it's gonna release a lot of slime lung. Slime lung grows mostly in polluted oxygen, but dies in non-polluted oxygen, so you want to purify the air. There's a technology you'll have eventually called a algae distiller. I hear some people use algae distillers to make algae. That's not what I use them for. I use them to destroy slime, because slime sucks. So they've got that done. I'm gonna start doing stuff up here. I'm gonna mine out here a bit. This latrine here should be enough for 3 duplicants. It should be enough for 4 duplicants. But eventually I'm going to want to replace it with a better washroom. So let me just measure out the 12 blocks in this direction. And I'm going to do that on this floor, but I'm not going to do it down here. And that's just because we have water here, and I kind of want to exploit the water before we make large containers for it. And I will want to make large containers. I have plans. That's the point. I've sort of got a base planned in my head, and that's really what you need to do for this game. Yeah, long time no see. I kind of dropped off the face of the Earth for a while. I'm back in a sort of soft, not very committed way right now. Anyhow, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. I think that's the width I want. I'll count one more time. How does the saying go? Cut twice, measure once. No! Cut once. No. Measure twice, cut once. There, that's the saying. Goodness. Anyhow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. I've so far found that I kind of like the 24 block sections. They kind of work for me, but I should really at some point experiment with other block sizes. Oh, it's already the 1st of January for me. Still the last day of December for me, so... So I've still got a ways until the new year. I'm one of the last people who's going to be in January 1st. It's going to be a good while for me. They're digging this out. I'm just going to slowly edge this way. They're mining a while, and, you know, probably somewhere around here is where I'm going to put my first video skip, just until they've mined out a bit of this. I'm probably going to put my first generator station on this floor. Let's get that set up. No reason to hold off. Right now you'll notice I only have one material available for each type of thing I want to build. Eventually you'll have lots of materials, and then you'll have to start making choices about what to build things out of. So let's see. I want to make a generator. Normally I'd start here, I'd make a few batteries, but let's go over here. I take it back. I probably talked a bit too much, and now I'm not going to be able to bring myself to cut that bit out. Or maybe I will. We'll see. You'll notice I'm leaving these little lips at the edge, and that's where I tend to put my initial oxygen generating buildings. It's just nice if you notice that you're producing a lot of polluted oxygen somewhere, or a lot of carbon dioxide is building up, like you'll notice it is down here. It's just nice to be able to put things like algae terrariums and deodorizers around here. And we can't make a deodorizer yet, but you know what? I'm going to get working on that. It's time to get our research station up. And I'm going to put my first research station here. Wire it out to here. You'll note I have a battery right here. It's a very simple battery. It'll only carry 10,000... what will it carry? 10,000 kilojoules of energy. So... yeah. We've got some nice algae deposits up here. A few hydrogen pockets. And one of the things you want to keep your eye out, and the temperature view is very useful for this, but you want to keep your eye out for bars of neutronium. I have an amusing anecdote to tell about my first bar of neutronium that I found. I, to this day, do not know what kind of treasure it was concealing, but I can tell you that I reacted the entirely wrong way to finding a 4 square of neutronium close to me. I did something incredibly stupid, and I'll warn you that it's stupid, so fortunately you don't have to go through the same stuff I did. There's a lot of CO2 down here. You'll notice that the air is kind of gray instead of blue like up here. Like in a lot of media, this game has decided that oxygen is blue. And I'm not sure where that got started, but it's almost universal. A lot of places treat oxygen as blue. Well, there's not going to be much... there's not going to be much to do here until... or talk about here until the research station is built up. You'll notice... oh, wait, okay, one more thing, and then I'll probably cut out a bit in the final product, but priorities. I rarely use this, but if you want one of them to treat some task as a higher priority than another task, for instance, you'll note Frankie here is very good at combat and digging. Nicola is very good at research. If you want to sort of ensure that specific duplicants do something instead of something else, this is the screen where you want to do that. The other thing to look at is the priority overlay. For that, just hit P, and it will tell you the priority of all your tasks. The default is 5. You can make a task lower priority or higher priority, and it will just affect how they do it, whether they do it first or not. Okay, and here's where I'm probably going to cut until... not if you're watching me stream, but if you're watching the after version of this, this is probably where I'll cut until we've dug out a bit more of this. Okay, and this is probably where I'll cut back in. So I'm cutting back in here. I haven't dug out too much more of this, but you'll notice that I added an oxygen diffuser. And that's just because it's getting a bit carbon dioxide-like up here, so they're having a bit of trouble breathing. And an oxygen diffuser is a good early game way to get oxygen. Like I've said earlier in this whole mess. You'll want to make your oxygen from water eventually, but the algae is probably best to save for fish food. Oh, what else? Okay, so this wash basin, I want to set the direction to left. I don't want people going in to wash their hands. I want people coming out to wash their hands. This is useful because sometimes someone will come into a washroom and they'll start washing their hands, and then the person going out will not wash their hands because... And then you get disease out into the base, and right now you'll see I have a nice disease-free base, and I like it that way. And sometimes you'll get little outbreaks, but it's fine, they can be dealt with. The one I probably hate most is getting food poisoning on mealwood. For some reason that just never seems to die out. You'll see I see my first abyss light up here. Right next to one of those chlorine biomes. I call them chlorine biomes. You don't see any chlorine yet, but I just name it. I seem to name every biome after the most annoying thing in it. Now here's something I've never seen before. The buddy bud. Buddy buds are leafy plants that have a positive effect on morale, much like a friend. Decor plus 26. I have never seen that before. Ooh, that looks like something I'm going to have to plant in a few places. Maybe the mess hall when I make it? Speaking of which, let's do my next big expansion. My next big expansion is going to be in this direction. Up there. I don't want anything there, and just like that. And I don't mind digging up muckroot. Sometimes you want a few wild plants out there, because, you know, you don't need to feed them and they produce stuff. But muckroot doesn't grow, and it's basically just a food source for the early game. And it's terrible, by the way. It's absolutely terrible. Muckroot is potentially one of the worst things you can eat. It's literally got -1. You might wonder why I've never seen a buddy bud before, by the way. I haven't actually started a new game since the most recent update came out, and they added a whole bunch of plants. So there's going to be a whole bunch of plants I haven't seen, and that I'll be discovering for the first time with you guys, so that'll be cool. Oof, look at that. That is some nice, dense, polluted oxygen. Currently it doesn't have any disease in it, but I'll probably want to filter that out before digging any of the slime around it. It's got 2 algae as points of entry, so that'll be nice. So over here I've built the door. Let's wedge it open. I've got 1 wheel, 1 battery that they filled up. And this is the worst battery. I am going to destroy it. Just a warning there. But I'll destroy it later, when I have something better to replace it with. My power options right now are kind of limited. And I have only 1 food option. This is truly terrible. The micro musher. I'm not going to make it yet. I still have 5 days of food. And I'm going to get more as I dig up muckroot. Oh, just look at how slowly they're walking around. I'm sorry, this might not look slow to you, but they develop their athletic skill as time goes on, and in later stages of the game they're just zipping around. They're all strong and capable. Oof. Nice pocket of gold amalgam there. Let's see, igneous rock, coal, abyssalite. Abyssalite is an interesting substance. Let's take a look at it in the temperature view. You don't see much here, but it has a very important property. Its thermal conductivity is 0. That means its temperature does not change, and it does not change the temperature of the things around it. As such, it acts like a perfect insulator. So always be a bit careful before you mine abyssite. Ask yourself, do you really want those temperatures mixing? In this case, it won't matter much because the temperatures are already mixing probably through the granite and the obsidian. But eventually, you'll come across abyssite that you probably want to be very careful going through. And there's ways of dealing with that. Okay, guess what? Good news. Our first new duplicant. New duplicants available. Now, there's two strategies you can use getting new duplicants here. There's the one I call Speed Rush, and this has worked very well for me in the past. And there's the one I think of as sort of Picky, which has also worked very well for me. My current base design, I have a maximum duplicant amount of either 16 or 20. Initially it's going to be 16. Initially it's going to be 12, actually. 12 is going to be my first amount, but eventually I want to up it to 16 or 20 or something like that. And I'm going to want, for now, I'm going to go with the sort of top tier, everything has to be awesome strategy for now. So as such, I'm going to be really picky about who I let in. Abe has two disadvantages, so I'm saying nope, nope. He's a narcoleptic and a tryptophobe, which means he can't dig, and he falls asleep at random points. And he's uncultured, which means he can't do art either. He gets plus 20 decor benefit, but man, that's not good. Harold only has one interest, so I'm going to say no to him. I do like farming, but still no. Camilla's a bit better. We are going to need ranching eventually. She's a tryptophobe and a gourmet. Gourmet is a very mixed blessing in my opinion, so I'm actually going to reject all of them. And we'll try again in 3 days. We're actually approaching the 40-minute mark already. I'm kind of impressed. I'm hoping I get to show you some research before this is all over, but it looks like they want to finish digging first. I could give this a higher priority. In fact, I'm going to just to demonstrate how that works. Let's give all this a priority of 6. Oh, that is not what I was trying to do. Didn't notice I'd picked the storage bin instead of the ladder. You might wonder why I'm not making storage bins and sweeping things up. I tried to do that the first time. Eventually I just realized it's better to leave things on the floor. Keeping things tidy in this game is an exercise in futility. You are not going to succeed. It's going to get horrible. Okay, so you'll see they're building this first now. That's because I gave it a higher priority. I very much try not to abuse the priority system, but there are a few things I usually up the priority of that will make me usually up the priority to around 6 or 9. 6 is usually for tasks that I want dealt with whenever they come up, but are kind of periodic. 9 is for whenever I feel a task is do it now, oh my god, do it now. And we have our research station. And you'll note that the research tab up here has become available. So let's click on that. Okay. We have researched nothing. We've got this huge research tree here. So you're probably wondering, what do I research first? Well, from my point of view, you got 3 options. Basic farming, power regulation, jobs. And I am going to go for basic farming because that gives you the algae terrarium. Now, algae terrariums have an important property that your average algae... what's it called again? That your oxygen diffuser doesn't have. Specifically, it doesn't just create oxygen, it destroys carbon dioxide. You're going to need that. Trust me, you're going to need that. Oh, mind you, in my last game, I actually made a slickster ranch, and at that point, suddenly there just wasn't enough carbon dioxide in the world for me. So I might be a little lighter on the algae terrariums this time. But in the early game, they're pretty much your only option for scrubbing out CO2. And it's fine that you're doing things in the early game that you wouldn't dream of doing later. That's kind of the point of having an early game. And we've reached nighttime, so this is probably going to be another jump. Good morning, duplicants. You'll notice there was a bit of text telling me they had sore backs. That just comes from sleeping on the floor. They'd very much like beds. We have the option to give them beds. And you know what? I'm just going to temporarily, this is, I assure you, purely temporary. I'm just going to make him a trio of cots right there. Part of me is telling me that that's a bad idea because it's taking up time, and right now they're very much not good at constructing things quickly, but they'll get better. Full thanks to Frankie here, who's upping the power availability. And we're, of course, going to need that for research. No one's done research yet. It requires dirt. It has dirt. I don't know why research requires dirt. It's probably some sort of biology or something. I don't know how... Well, no, it is biology. We're researching farming, so of course we have to look at the dirt. What am I gonna do about this water? I think I know. Okay, I'm just gonna start by laying out future stuff that I'm not gonna quite do yet. I'm planning to make a sort of water basin somewhere around here. And I usually make my water basins about 10 by 10. I know that there's a water reservoir you can also use. There's upsides and downsides, but I'm going to start by making a sort of artificial basin. And that'll be where I send my water. Ah, Ellie. You're my best researcher now. Actually, her learning is 0, so she's not my best, but... Well, I mean, she's actually doing the research, and that kind of makes you best by default, right? Little by little, she's using up the dirt. She's creating research. Soon, we'll have just a little more knowledge, a few more things we can build. I feel like it's important to get research up early. There's a lot of things that you can't make without it. Ah, okay. Sand. Just be warned, sand falls. You always want to carefully look at where sand is and isn't. Like that. Because if it falls in the wrong way, you can get a flood on your hands. Can't wait to get over to this gold amalgam. I'm not going to go over there immediately, though. I want algae distillers before I peel out all that slime. What else do we have around here? More slime, more slime. It looks like around me is just a world of slime, and the only direction that that's not true in is up. Up was the direction I tended to go in my first few games. So, of course, I never found out that there was very useful stuff down. Remember, you're not just going to want to go up, you're going to want to go down. You'll like what's down. Oh, except the heat. There's a lot of heat down, so be careful of that. So I'm just going to start mirror imaging on this side. Because I have plans and plots and schemes. And that water is going somewhere, I tell you. Somewhere. perhaps this looks unusual. And well, it should. Because I am doing something a bit unusual over there. Or I don't know, maybe it's normal for other people. Oh! I forgot to point it out. Look at this. We found a hatch. This cute little guy goes around eating all of our stuff. Which might sound horrible, but fortunately, he doesn't just eat our stuff, he also poops out coal. And you can burn coal, or turn coal into useful materials, so I say overall he's a win. Oh. That got buried. Looks like some sand fell down. That's fine. We'll dig it up. And there we go. If you look up at our calories, we haven't actually lost that many. That's because a lot of them are muckroot now, instead of nutrient bars. Like the little shine nymph we've got. I think he's awesome. Nicola is now technically trapped up here. So I'm going to try to get him to dig his way out before he has an accident. How's his bladder? It's not good. Okay, screw it. He's trapped. When you're trapped, that's an emergency. And now he's not trapped. That's better. There's a little question to me. I guess it was Ellie, now it's Frankie. Frankie's again a 0, but that's fine. They get better. And now, will they be able to finish researching this before my hour is up? Oh, you'll notice I've made beds, so you click on the beds, and you have to assign them. You don't have to, actually. The moment it turns into nightfall, they'll go sleep there anyways. In this way, they will not have a sore back next night. Doesn't increase their morale like this, so we'll want to take these apart eventually. But for now, it'll do. Battery's gonna be full soon. There we go. Go get something else done, Ellie. You've run enough. I love that our base at first is entirely run by people in mouse wheels. That's just too good for words, in my opinion. Okay, instead of cutting this out, I'm going to take an opportunity to go over all of these. It's not going to be too useful right now, but I just want to give you an idea of what every overlay does. So, I showed you oxygen. You'll note that breathing has become a bit harder over the base, but we've got this nice diffuser, which has kept this area nice bright blue. Power. Power highlights the grids like this. Shows you what's producing power, what's consuming it. We've got 180 watts of power usage right now and 400 of production, so that's good. So temperature, everything's green except around the base, which is kind of orange. That's because it's hotter out here. This is the thermal tolerance overlay. It just shows you what areas the duplicants have trouble in. You'll note that these areas are a bit too hot. There's a bit of heat here, but not too much. This is the light overlay. It shows you what areas are lit and what aren't. This is a shine bug. He creates light. Not much. Just 1,800. And that's close to him, so, you know, not great. Plumbing overlay. We got nothing here now. A lot of the game just doesn't have much purpose until we've done a bit more research and have a few more things to show you. Here's the ventilation overlay. Again, nothing. I don't have any ventilation. The decoration overlay. Green means it's decorated. Red means it's not. And if you mouse over, you'll notice it tells you what's adding and what's subtracting from the decor. So you'll notice that a lot of the decor in this area is the shine bug, which produces 37 decor. A lot of the decor here is the buddy bud. A lot of the negative decor here is the battery and Frankie's terrible outfit. You can make them better outfits later. You've got the disease overview. I've already shown you that. The farming overview, which shows you how close things are to growing and what they need to grow further. Ooh. That thimble reed is ready for harvest. And the room overlay. I've only got one room that actually does anything so far, and that's a latrine, but latrines are important. I think you'll agree with me. Oof. I don't think Ellie is even going to finish researching this time. Oh. Kind of annoying, admittedly. Nicola, why are you stressed out? You can mouse over the stress to find out why. It doesn't really tell us right now. And 2 is hardly stressed out. You want to prevent the stress from reaching 100. 2 is a far away from 100. Likewise, you want to prevent immune systems from reaching 0. Nicola just got better at digging. He's been doing a lot of it. I wonder if digging is one of his interests. Nope. He likes research, operations, and art. And we'll need an artist at some point. That will be a thing we need. And this early game is pretty much actually just going to be me digging out the starting biome. You'll note that there is a definite starting biome ringed by this sort of gray wall of granite and obsidian. And that's kind of just your starting area. And you know what? Okay, I'm going to teach you a little trick. This is actually a very nice trick to know. Pause the game and go into screenshot mode. Hit Alt-S, zoom out, and there you can see the starting area bordered by that ring of gray. We can't dig past that gray yet, but this sort of gives you an idea of the area you start in. I'm going to zoom in again and hit Alt-S. And I think I'm going to go to that view one more time in just a minute or two, and that's going to be sort of the view I leave you on. Frankie's almost finished with digging out this row. I'm probably going to use this layer to be my kitchen. I'm going to make a bunch of microbe mushers. Probably around 3 of them. But not yet, because believe it or not, look at that, I still have 15,000 calories, which was my starting amount. A lot more of it is muckroot, but my calorie number hasn't actually dropped, and that's just because I keep digging and finding muckroots, so for your early game strategy, just finding muckroots works perfectly. Find muckroots, find muckroots, find muckroots. And if you don't know where they are, usually buried objects are right where these little cracks in the stone show up. Things like these and this here. Also in gaps like this, you'll see some muckroots just with its leaves sticking up out of the dirt. I do want to replace these at some point. Oof. Good job, Frankie. Good job, Ellie. Okay, we've hit an hour, so I'm going to pause here. Ellie is very close to finishing, but we'll have to save that for another time. I'm just going to zoom out like this. And that sort of shows where we've begun. It's not very much that we've dug out yet, but we only have 3 duplicants. Eventually we'll have more. They'll be trained, they'll be better. Remember the most important things I've shown you here. Set the direction on your sink. Open your doors to let duplicants run through. Put doors places to make rooms. You get the idea. And of course, mine to find muckroot. Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna try editing this together. It could work, it could not. I'll see if I like this format. Who knows? And everything's probably gonna be really simplistic. Hey, it cut me out there, but, you know, it can do that. I hope you enjoyed that, and as always, outro, outro, outro.